Hello. Greetings. Welcome to Psychic Frank's Mystery School. Ta-da! Happy spring. Spring has sprung. The vernal equinox. You arrived yesterday, right at 2:58, 2:59. So it was like 1 minute before 3. And I made all these notes. And now I can't understand what I did with them. Oh, here they are. I was just frantically going through here. Yeah, I got here. I usually get here a little earlier. So anyway, thank you so much. And okay, where do we begin? Okay, where's the calendar? We'll start there. The Mountain Astrologer I always read from the Mountain Astrologer. And here's February, March. They had a rough last year. Several males, really sage astrologers who were really, escape their names right now, but I just, over the years, depended on their sage advice, and then they died, a couple of them. And then Donna Cunningham, a living legend, just passed away a few months ago. So the Mountain Astrologer was having a time getting what I thought, qualified. There were big shoes to fill. Those people left some, they were hard. They were geniuses, as far in the astrological world, living legends. And what happened was, I picked up the Mountain Astrologer yesterday for April and May, and I read Pan Youngham's introduction, and I said, this is worthy of sharing on the air. So here we go. Donald Trump, we're probably going to have to talk to him again. You can't separate spirituality from politics. New Zealand, I'm always down on them for being the only country besides America that allows for-profit pharmaceutical ads on TV and everything. But they did right by banning automatic weapons of war there. So Pan Youngham's, April is when it all happens. We just had the vernal equinox. We're going to talk about that. It's all about Aries now. The sun's in Aries. I made these amazing notes, and I don't know what I did with them. Just give me 1 second. This is really unprofessional, and I maybe I left it on the table. Oh well, I might have done that. It's been known to happen. I know what I did. I left it on my desk. Oh well. Teddy Roosevelt. Let's start with Teddy Roosevelt. He said, "We are not attacking." This is what he said at his State of the Union address. Teddy Roosevelt in 1902 said, "We are not attacking the corporations, but endeavoring to do away with any evil in them. We are merely determined that they shall be so handled as to subserve the public good. We draw the line against misconduct, not against wealth." Wow, that's just so beautiful there, that's just a really beautiful thing. And so what Pan Youngham says now is what all the astrologer websites are saying, because to validate my hunches I get from my guides, I call them. It's always validated when I scroll down the YouTube videos. There's some really good astrologers on there. And so they all say the same thing, April 4th, April 30th, and the 24th. So that's just a few days from now. Since Pluto and Saturn are moving quite slowly throughout this 2-month period. It says the moon's south node, that's the karma, in Capricorn, keeper of the cosmic law, has a rendezvous with 2 powerhouse planets in April. Its alignment with transformational Pluto in Capricorn perfects on April 4th. And is conjunct with disciplinarian Saturn is exact on April 30th. Please note that the forecast uses true north node, okay? And the couplings are especially potent since Pluto and Saturn are moving quite slowly throughout this 2-month period. Pluto stations retrograde April 24th, while Saturn's retrograde April 29th. I'll explain all that, okay? What we're doing, this is what's happening now is paradigms are changing. Uranus is busting up the stagnant crap. I don't know how else to say it. There's no pretty word of saying excrement. Horrible stuff. Uh, it started with that sadistic Ronald Reagan's sadistic sick joke called trickle down economics. What's only trickle down was misery, and and now we got, just people see me, a lot because they got public air, access TV. I guess people get up in the middle of the night, they turn on the TV, and there I am in the middle of the night on channel 76 or channel 29, and people just feel like they own me. They know me, know me, whatever. I'm here to serve, and they just they see me on the street. They honk the horn, they tell me they love me, and then in just 2 seconds they'll just open up and tell me. What's really bothering them or the deepest hurts, and so I'm doing healings all over the city. But lately, everybody I'm talking to usually has a uniform on. They are some kind of service, either building inspectors, plumbers, water company people that work for the city, and they all and I talk to them. As some of them don't live in the city and they don't get cable access TV, and I like to tell them I'm on YouTube, and I give them a little reading, a sample of what I do, and then they open up to me and they tell me the same exact thing. They can't afford to live in San Francisco, and they put their heads down, and it's a shame. It's a crying shame. I don't know how San Francisco's going to get on track. As long as Willie Brown is running the show, he still is. Most people don't even know who he is, but he's running everything. I just don't understand it. Yeah, we're here in San Francisco, and the corporations are just running roughshod over this city. It's getting so it's going to be like Monte Carlo. Only zillionaires could live here. It's and their servants. It's hopefully before then, Uranus is going to break up. We'll get somebody in that White House who, aside from this, I'm not to call him names, but he's evil. There's no two ways about it. A couple of years ago, someone asked me if he was the Antichrist, and I quickly said no. He's a wannabe Antichrist, but he's evil. He's just so evil. It's it's a shame. We've got I don't understand, why they have to, what are they waiting for him to do? Okay, well, what I'm getting is, in April, he's going to, it's going to happen, and he wants a war. He wants a civil war. He's saying that bikers and army, and he's got all these powerful, he really wants a helter-skelter, blood in the streets. He's not going to take the high road. He doesn't know what the high road is. He wouldn't know the high road if a bit of on his, I can't believe that monster's still waddling around the White House after all these years, 2 years long. And from the gate, he's been treasonous. It's so funny. I made all these amazing notes, and then I didn't get here on time. So, excuse me. Let me just bear with me for a second. Okay, let's talk about health. Okay? I got to shake off what's going on. The mind and body are not separate units, but one integrated system. How we act, what we think, eat, and feel are related to our health. Physicians should be capable of teaching this behavior to patients, which reminds me of a book I brought. I'm still getting through it. It's called The Mind-Body Code. It came out in 2014 by Dr. Mario Martinez. And I'm going to bear with me now because I have this, I wrote here in the margin, read on TV. He says how some religious leaders are convinced that religion can help contain the savage within through fear and eternal damnations. Others propose that life has no meaning without a brief belief in the existence of God. In my view, these unresolved issues beg these questions. Are we good because we fear eternal punishment, or do we love punishment, or do we love because we fear existential loneliness? Can we endure life if we know that there's not? And then he goes on and on and on. He goes, and then he says, I choose to believe that we are much more than biochemical accidents and evolutionary machines, which is what science is all about. That's the grudge I've got against Neil deGrasse Tyson, the latest incarnation of Carl Sagan. They're still in the Newton world of the world is everything is in clockwork precision. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, March something is Pi Day, and all these math snobs. I was beaten up by a math book when I was 4. So I have this thing about math, and I'm a numerologist, so I have a totally different number with a relationship with number, and I can barely balance my checkbook. But the fact is on Pi Day, all these intellectual snobs throw it around. They have pie parties and all this, and they don't get with it, people. The quantum mechanics is all about the fuzziness. Get it? The fuzziness, the mystery, the quantum is, and science cannot admit that there's something they can't dissect and find it. That's why they can't find a soul. That's why they don't. It's ridiculous. So all you pie people, get a life, huh? Where's the humility? I went to high school. I got off Facebook, but I was on Facebook for 2 years. The worst 2 years of my life. My life was in never greater danger. I never got more threats than than the threats I got on Facebook. Because a lot of my friends from New York, one girl's a musician, there's a woman, she's a good singer, and she travels the world, the country, the United States with a singing group, and she's in Texas, and she's one of these people that can't have enough Facebook friends. I can't ever forgive Facebook for me the word is everything, and what they did to that beautiful word friend is sinful. That's a shame. The word friend used to mean something. A friend would get up in the middle of the night when you called. A friend is somebody give you $20 when you needed it. Listen to your rants. You just had without dumping. It just was a different. My idea, was like not quantity but quality. I think if you have one or two good friends on this planet, you got a home run. You hit the friend lottery there. But this thing about we demean the word friend. Why don't they go with acquaintances, or an enemy I'd like to keep close to me? What do they say? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I don't know. I don't get it. And any psychic, anybody who's on Facebook, I don't know how a psychic could get on Facebook. There's spiritual vampirism, psychic vampirism is a big thing. So there's ways you could counteract it, and protect yourself from it. It's all about practicing presence. We're going to talk about practicing presence. Being true to our core, our true self. See, Donald Trump doesn't have a clue what his true self is. He is so off. And it gets worse every day. And his diet, it doesn't help. I don't understand. Like I say all the time, if he didn't exist, we would have to invent him and all his family and friends, because we eat the menu instead of the meal. He's exactly what we need. He's the epitome of what the world hates about America. And thank God he got in there, because I'm not condoning anything, but this is like Carl Jung said, there can be no higher consciousness without, or growth, enlightenment without really intense pain. And this guy makes Simon Legree look like Santa Claus. I mean, putting kids and his whole entourage of hard-hearted people, and that's not. You ever saw? Well, nobody remembers it as Hard-Hearted Hannah, the Vamp of Savannah. It was all about this hard-hearted woman, I guess. Well, it's not. There's nothing cute about the hardening of America's heart. We used to have the soul of America was a heart of gold, a bleeding heart, bleeding heart liberals, I don't like that term, but it's a term that's been around. And then we get this what's everything that's going on now, and it is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. like someone said, the 21st century will be spiritual or it won't be. 30-something years ago when I got out of recovery, part of my aftercare plan was to go to AA meetings, another drug. But I went for 2 years. I learned a lot. And my sponsor, Frankie, used to say to me, we'd be walking out of these meetings, and people would say the spiritual part of life. And Frankie and I would just look at each other, and then we walk out, and she'd say, what are they talking about? I don't understand how people have this like categories. To me, it's foreign, Okay, so listen to what Dr. Mario Martinez says. He says, independent of your... Okay, I choose to believe. This is what he chooses to believe, and it's pretty much what I choose to believe. Or any healer. I choose to believe that we are much more than biochemical accidents. Yeah, he says, but if God exists, it must be pure love. I'd rather burn in hell than worship a wrathful entity. But there is no need to get melodramatic here. I'm leading up to the most important component of building your personal cosmology if you don't have one. Independent of your belief in afterlife, if you must decide if you are going to base your existence on love or fear. You got to choose. Make love or make war. I found a thing here where it says war is a drug. And the surge from power is the most... people get addicted to that. A lot of there's not many of them left, but a lot of the World War II guys used to say in interviews that was the best time of their life. Oh, God have mercy. Yeah, they were given cigarettes, cancer sticks. Yeah. Okay, then he says, if I have known compassionate... atheists, and he said, I have known compassionate atheists and malicious believers. I have treated murderers, rapists, and serial killers whose behavior was never stopped by fear or spiritual damage. In fact, some continue their inhumane behavior because they believed that since they had been irreversibly damaged after they committed their first act of infamy, they had free rein now to do no additional punitive consequences. Oy vey. Something else I discovered while contemplating psychology workshops and all that. Yeah, I choose to believe there are much more than biochemical accidents and evolutionary. Every breathing, living, sentient being on this planet. Oh, yeah, he says, I love this. Contemplative psychology offers effective methods to navigate and resolve our existential despair. More important, serenity is available independent of the cosmology we choose to endorse. Before moving on with our psycho-spiritual exploration, I will share my personal beliefs without any intention to influence you. And then he says, we're not just machines, but don't tell that to Neil deGrasse or science. I learned in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic when men and women were dropping like flies, the doctors would actually, I'd be working with a man or a woman and for a few weeks and getting them to eat and they're getting stronger. And then the doctor would come back from a Bahamas vacation or something, some jerk like in his 30s and the head of these big departments where you have to be an MIT graduate to keep these slabs of meat from spoiling. It's sick. Wasn't there once a thing, do no damage? Don't these pharmaceutical ads, isn't there any like hypocritic oath they take to do no damage? Do you listen to these side effects? According to the pharmaceutical companies, the human body is dumb, stupid, ignorant. It doesn't know how to heal it doesn't know how to heal a scratch. It's ignorant. They don't know the wisdom that our vital organs contain. Excuse me, I get so passionate because this is my life. For the last 40 years, I actually started in the early 80s there, when I started healings. When these kids come to see me and they walk in the door and they're like these girls 22, 23, 24 and they introduce themselves and they say, I go, what are you doing? I go, I'm a Reiki master 5,000 degrees or something. I don't know. I turn off and I gasp. And then, but what it is with Reiki, I don't know what Reiki, I guess it's a good thing. For some people, I don't understand it, but they somehow they sell it by the degrees, and if you've got the money, you can buy as many degrees as you want. And then people go around where they should be learning the time of their life where they should be so like a sponge, so thirsty for wisdom. You know, the master, the spiritual enlightened one, takes the student out to the lake, and he says, "What do you want?" Enlightenment. He holds it under the water. Comes up again for air. "What do you want?" Enlightenment. He holds him under the water. And this goes on and on until the guy's half drowned, and then he comes up gasping for air, and he goes, "When you want enlightenment, the way you want that breath of air, that's when you get it." So you got to wake up every day and realize this life, this incarnation is precious. Don't throw your life away by work on getting non-material things, gifts like compassion, empathy. Equanimity of mind, start transcending our egos, all the things Donald Trump is not. See, he's such a great teacher. Just don't be that guy, you know. And that's the paradox, you know, the appreciation of the paradox. By just doing what you do and being true to your core, boom, 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 doors appear where there were no doors, and all this cool stuff happened. Donald Trump did not want to ground the 737 at first, saying the old days were best, and really nothing's been improved since the wheel. So I guess the next thing we're going to be doing is the minuet. With the next big party at Mar-a-Lago there, they'll be doing the minuet with powdered wigs. I guess might not go all the way, Don. Oh, God. Our liberty depends... Yeah, Thomas Jefferson said this. Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press. Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press. The founding, one of the dearest founding fathers of our country, said that. Donald Trump says, individual one, just call him individual one now. Individual one says, the media is the enemy of the people. Oh my God. There is a reason you separate military and the police. One fights the enemies of the state, the other serves and protects the people. It's the way it's supposed to be, you know? When the military becomes both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people. That's where we are now. Do the right thing, even when no one is looking. It's called integrity. Da, 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 da. Gore Vidal said something, and I said to myself, this is too heavy. This is really too heady. But read it on the air anyway. So here we go. You know, there's a lot of astrology out there. Yeah, we got some interesting stuff going on with April, but I'm not going to teach astrology. The entire month of April is an extended month of truth, scribing the introduction to the chapter that will be added to the history books in January 2020, when Saturn and Pluto meet in Capricorn and begin their new cycle. The two planets will be in 0 degrees, Saturn and they'll be in Aquarius. Saturn and Pluto will touch in, or I forget. Okay, so let's get this through. Let's get this done here. Huxley said, because this is pithy, you know, this is something you could toss around in your brain and it'll make you, and there's two things like that. There's two things I thought, man, I don't want to, you know, but I don't like to dumb down my audience. I'd like to think that we're all very bright, and nothing is, we can comprehend a lot more. So I'm going to read something from Gore Vidal right now, and I'm going to read this Huxley little passage. It says, from pure sensation to the intuition of beauty, from pleasure to pain to love and the mystical ecstasy and death, all the things that are fundamentals. Yeah, that's what makes a good life, you know. All the things that are fundamentals, all the things that to the human spirit are most profoundly significant, can only be experienced, not expressed. I'd love to turn you on, but I can't. It's an inside job. You can't find happiness. You got to realize I make my own happiness, and that's what it is. So many people looking for happiness, they're never going to find it unless you realize it's you. Baby, it's you. It's all about attitude. And Donald Trump is sick. The only can be experienced, not expressed. The rest is always and everywhere silence. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. I love that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful one. Feel the rain on your own face. Only you can do that for yourself. And then Gore Vidal said you can't have a war on terrorism. War on terrorism. Because that's not an actual enemy. It's an abstract, period. It's like having a war on dandruff. That war will be eternal and pointless. It's idiotic. It's not a war, it's a slogan. So the war on terrorism is a slogan. Got it. It's a lie. It's advertising, which is the only art form we ever invented in America. And we use it to sell soap, wars, and presidential candidates in the same fashion. The pharmaceutical industry, the war on our bodies. Our bodies are ignorant, stupid things, and without pharmaceutical chemicals, and forget about the side effects. So what if whatever happened to the oath of do no harm? If one person, back in the 80s when we were all champs, it was one of these, chumps. It was a cannabis place, and I was doing reading for Roach's period. This is way back in the late 80s, early 90s there, right after 215 passed. I lose my train of thought here. Okay, well, anyway, let's get back to this. It'll come back. Okay. It's not a war, it's a slogan. It's a lie. It's advertising, and we use it to sell soap, wars, and presidential candidates. The pharmaceutical industry, yeah. It sells things in the same fashion. The way they insult, I don't understand it. It's, how do these people cash checks? Right now, there's these people believe me, these people in the advertising agency that are whipping up these deadly advertising ads that are really bad, evil things. They know the law. They know these metaphysical laws, and they twist them. Like, they know that if you own something, what do you think these ads say? Listen closely to the next ad you say about my cancer, my this or that, or the strokes. Oh, it's big on stroke. You know what strokes are all about? Fear. So the more they get you afraid, the more you're going to have a stroke. It's insane. So please be your own doctor. Don't give your power away to the doctors. I make doctors cry. I'm proud of it. Yeah, I make doctors cry. I haven't been I've been away from hospitals for a while because it's hopeless. I realized a couple of years ago. I was involved, and I've been pretty much. I realized then that it's a death. It's a what do they call it? It's where people go to die. It's a death form now. And they have these equipment now where they don't need doctors and nurses. They don't need MIT engineering graduates running all these computers and machines. And the body's there, attached. There's no space on the body for anything else. They have all these lights and bullets. Yeah, I was thrown out of intensive care because in the 80s, I would go in and out of them, and doctors knew who they knew me, and they would stand back and let me do what I did because people were coming out of comas in front of me, and then I took a break, as fate would have it, and then it was only a few years ago I was through fate forced into a situation where I had to go in intensive care, and as soon as I put my hands on this man's crown chakra, he was in a coma. They put him in a coma. His the machines went nuts, and it started, I felt his spirit just go flew out of his crown chakra, and the woman said, "What are you doing over there? Get out of here!" And she threw me out of. I had never, this was only a few years ago, and so I just walk away from it now. Just walk away, Renee. Because as I said, I could do more from afar. I could do more from afar. Like here, I'm telling you, don't celebrate wellness. There's no benefit of alcohol, you know, there's no benefit of alcohol. Oh, yeah, this is good about Donald Trump. Whenever we refuse to accept our feelings and thoughts, however disturbing they might be, we experience psychological dissonance. We scapegoat. You know, that's what Donald Trump's now. He's using all these things as scapegoats. When we project our shadow onto others, we refuse ownership of ourselves, distancing ourselves from ourselves, losing ourselves in the process. This, according to Carl Jung, is how neurosis finds its way to take over the psyche. What we have with Donald Trump is his neuroses has turned into full-blown psychoses. He is got blood on his hands. Planes are going down. Race riots are happening. Wars are happening. Dictators are taking over all over, in foreign countries all over. Our allies now are disowning us and becoming on, you know, realizing they can't depend on us for anything except trouble, you know. Why? How could this man stay in that office another magic moment? I mean, so I believe in April, a bad attitude is the only true handicap. So we got Donald Trump is a handicap. This man has made fun of disabled people. He's called African countries holes, you know, bad names about, you know, crap holes. He's a liar. He's just everything. But, you know, if you look at him as everything America has become, he is the epitome of what everybody, you know, as I always, most people who watch this show know years ago I had an opportunity when I was in my freewheeling 20s, and, you know, I had a lot of friends who had money, and this one woman was getting a divorce. She liked gay guys, you know, and we were drinking buddies, and she, I don't drink anymore, and she met me on Haight Street for breakfast, and she said, where are you going? Back to Hawaii? Because every rainy season I would go to a commune in Hawaii. And I said, yeah, how'd you know? She goes, no, you're going to Panajachel in Guatemala, because I own a villa there. My husband and I are getting a divorce. So I literally ran this villa for a year and a half on Lake Atalan, the most 3 non-volcanoes. It's a lake surrounded by 3 non-active volcanoes, and the water is crystal clear. It's Hemingway called it paradise, and he was right. I would love to go back there, but not now. So anyway, we'd be on the beach, because I lived a block away. I ran this villa half a block away from this beautiful lake. And when I got there in the late 70s, there was one little old Guatemalan guy with an old rusty rifle in front of the only gas station and the only bank in town for miles, actually, because we're really high up in the altitude. And then when I left 2 years later, there were guerrilla soldiers with machine guns banging down doors and taking friends away. And yeah, it was a mess, thanks to Ronald Reagan. So anyway, when it was still pretty, when I first got there, the first couple of months before the Reagan stuff got, you know, I was so lucky I got there at that, you know, to see that whole transformation. And I'd be on the beach, you know, laying on the sand, you know, smoking a joint. And it was like 76, 77. And just digging on the beautiful sounds of nature. And you'd hear French, you know, whispering and Germans, and, you know, it was international, and it was everything. And all of a sudden you hear, Blanche, where's the kids? You know, and oh shit. And people say it's Americans, and I would actually say no, I'm not American. You know, I'm very mysterious. Nobody knew anything about, you know, who's this guy living in this villa, you know. He's got a girlfriend who's a fag hag, you know, but nobody knew that. So anyway, yeah, every once in a while I would take these, pack a lunch and take these walks around the volcano, you know, these mountains. And I turned the corner once. This is a true story. I turned the corner once, and this waterfall. And I, you know, pulled out my hat and my pipe and took a little hit, and it was just so beautiful. You know, people used to smoke pot to get into things. Now it's all about escape, you know. So I remember just, now I dig this moment, you know, and I just sat there, and it was beautiful. It was one of those eternal moments when I was right there with the, you know, it's almost like if it had a rainbow, it probably did at one time. Because I did that a few times, you know, because I was so taken with that. And then one day, around a year later, I was there. I took that same trek, and just to see that waterfall, it was so healing. And I swear to God on the cross, a Marlboro sign right with that waterfall, you know. And oh my God, it was like a, oh, I can't explain it. You know, it's just like knocked the wind right out of me. You know, I don't know, money. Money's always been an obtainable commodity, but you know, a thing to go, but never like it is now. These people obviously don't think they could take it with them when they go. I want to talk a little bit about practicing presence. I just had that book in my hand a minute ago. Here it is. Kerry Walters. You know, he says about. This is our true end, and you know, none of us is ordinary. And as C.S. Lewis observed, although we often forget this and in our forgetfulness act all too ordinarily, each of us is a holy reflection of divine holiness, and thus are unimaginably extraordinary. A saint is nothing more, nothing less than a person who recognizes and strives to live up to his or her holy humanness. This is our true end, and to settle for anything less is to forsake the abundant life for which we were created. Most people think the abundant life means, you know, strip mine, kill, eat, slaughter, you know, eat all the fish. No, I've actually seen a woman of color with a T-shirt on standing in front of me, and I couldn't help but read the back. It was a few years ago, and she had this Bible quote that actually, I don't know what Bible she got that from, or the shirt was made from. I'm sure she didn't do it. And it said, we're here to eat all the fish, use up all the land, and what kind of a belief is that? The earth is a living thing. Actually, the signature event happened on May 24th when Uranus entered Taurus. Then a month later, she went back into Aries and then just re-entered just on the 6th of this month, March. Taurus for the 8 years now. 7.5 years, 8 years we got Uranus and Taurus, all about Mother Earth. And I was saying, in May there'll be a signature event when a planet like Uranus will give us a thing. And then there was the Hawaii volcano erupted for months. It had rivers of lava wiping out towns there in Hawaii. And then just recently I said, well, there was a signature event, and then it came and went. The 6 came and Uranus entered Taurus, and then I said, well, that was a kind of a hard act to follow, having the volcano erupt. So I think Uranus said, hey, that was it. He said, Uranus is male. Everything I'm reading about Uranus now, they're all saying he does this and that, where Neptune's feminine, Venus, of course, feminine, Mars, masculine there, yin and yang. We'll talk about that next time I'm here. And then it says, holy caring. Remember I said last time we substitute the word love for caring for God? Caring for, if you love, instead of love the earth, caring for the earth. If we are to realize our destiny as partakers in divine holiness and thus become fully human, we must live as best we can God's living kindness by allowing its seed within us to blossom and reach out to both God and our fellows. Okay, there's some other things I want to get to here. And then, well, I had planned. Oh yeah, here's I say key. This guy Heidegger says that we can live as authentic human beings only if we quote unquote dwell in the clearing of the true self after we discovered it. Most people think, is this my true self? We're changing so much. I am not the person I was 50 years ago. Muhammad Ali said, the man who thinks the same way at 50 as he did when he was 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. You should constantly be changing, evolving your thought. So when people say, is this my true self? Well, when you find your true essence, my true essence is an animal-loving, tree-hugging, vegan, non-cruelty-free, money happens, don't let it own you. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Albert Einstein said the most beautiful and profound emotion we can experience is the sensation of the mystical. Like Alan Watts said, we're psychically starved. It is the sower of all true science. Well, don't tell that to modern science, you know. They'll laugh you out of town. Yeah, that Neil deGrasse Tyson now is like Carl Sagan. He goes on these late night talk show and make fun of people like me. Yeah, there's a lot of fake psychics out there. John Oliver has a good show about it, but I actually am authentic. You know, people who see me know it. You know, and they have a wonderful. They leave totally blown away. You know. So anyway, Sylvia Brown said, I'd start. She said, when you're around 70, you'll be doing what I'm doing. And I remember Ross McGowan, the guy who had this show, it was called People Are Talking. He looked at me and he said, how old are you? I said, 30. He said, what's the man supposed to do for the next 40, 50 years? And she gave me a wink and she said, it's got to be his way. Now, I don't know how any psychic go on TV and ignore the hypocrisy, the war on wellness. Never mind being wellness oriented, the war on wellness. The corporations that are they're counting. They're the zillion-dollar corporations that are banking on you getting leaving this planet after a long bout with suffering with cancer and all kinds of debilitating disease. Alzheimer's are people just checking out. It used to be called being senile when I was growing up. Oh, that old lady down the street, yeah, she went senile. Now it's Alzheimer's. You know, they give it these $10 words, you know, so because it sells more. Aesop said, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. You know, most people only do think they got an audience, you know. That's why churches are so big. Everybody looks at how much they're putting in, what are you wearing, you know, who's zooming who, you know. My church is nature. And I'm tired of my church being crapped all over. This morning, I must have picked up 40 cigarette butts. Every time I walk around, I just cannot walk by. I just pick them up. My hands are only so big, you know, and I put them somewhere, you know. Remember I said on my last show, laziness is one of the things Tibetan Buddhists say is, and people are lazy, you know. There's something about, you know, we start my orange for me, but these people, you know, get off your butt and do something, you know, it's good for your heart. He says, to dwell is not merely to squat for a while on an unsettled bit of land or an empty building, but to put down roots as a permanent home. You know, put down roots with your core. Give your soul a home. A lot of people whose soul don't have a home. I'm not talking about a physical home. So many people are living in cars now. I mean, we got to put a stop to this, what's going on. And I can't help the world, but I can do what I'm doing right here in San Francisco. And we got to stop this, what's going on in San Francisco City Hall. We've got some good supervisors in Haney. I like him here in San Francisco. But the same Willie Brown political machine who gave us... I can't even remember that Chinese horrible man's name. And then the one who, like a fat tick, sucked all the blood out of the city and fell off and died. And he gave us a London breed. I said to somebody the other day, a landowner, a landlord of some place, you know, owns a lot of property, and he told me he voted for London breed, and I said, of course I didn't, and because I'm not a landlord. And then I said to myself, you know what? I said to him, I think what I'm going to do, you know, I voted for Matt Gonzalez. And then the first night after Election Day, he was up by a lot. And then the next day they recounted. And, of course, we got that Chinese guy, Gavin Newsom. Yeah, it was Gavin or one of them, you know. They were all the same political machine, you know, the same MO, same modus operandi. So I said, I'm going to do the city a favor. You know, I voted for Matt Gonzalez. Of course, my vote ended up in the Bay. I voted for Mark Leno, you know, gay guy wanted in, you know, because he's not only gay, but he's good. Of course, he was up right after Election Day, and of course, the next day we got London breed. This goes on and on, you know, so I figured, well, I'll just have Denise, you know, she comes up here really soon right after me. She has a show called Liberal Buzz, and she's got some equipment. I'll have her follow me down to the Bay, and I'll just drop my ballot in the Bay and save them the trouble, because it's going to end up there anyway, because who Willie Brown wants in City Hall is going to end up in City Hall. if you're friends with London Breed, I'd love to do a reading for her. She always talks about her sister and everything she's doing, the dead sister. Um, uh, then you owe it to her to get into harm reduction. That's where it is. Never mind giving a plot of land out there in the middle of Golden Gate Park where they can. Why don't you go under a freeway ramp? God, this just bothers me so much. Anger is a good thing if you channel it in the right direction. I'm not wanting anybody any harm. I just love this city. I owe this city a lot. This is where I got it all together. I love this city, and it bothers me that that it's being taken over. So anyway, get involved. Get involved. He says the aim of all God does that the agents of the soul should be redirected inward towards Himself. But if the soul is scattered among its agents, spread out in the externalities, the agent out of sight in the eyes, the hearing in the ears, the taste on the tongue, then its inward action is feebler, because scattered forces do not fulfill their mission. Therefore, if the inward work of the soul is to be efficient, it must recall its agents and gather them in front of their dispersion to one inward effort. And that's it says, Eckhart says, our true life, he says, is the soul's innermost recesses. And if we fail to comprehend that, it is because we are not at home there. How pathetic is that? Not at home in your own core. Like Malcolm X said, if you're not willing to die for freedom, then don't use that word. God bless you. Anyway, we only got a few more minutes here. Yeah, the things are happening in April, and you wouldn't understand them if I probably explained them to you. But the thing is, keep your margins permeable. Talk to yourself, but don't let the conversations get cynical. Individual one, aka Donald Trump, conspire. Conspiracy comes from conspire. To join in a secret agreement to do an unlawful or wrongful act, or to use such means as to accomplish a unlawful scheme. He is a Russian agent. He's an asset, or whether willing or unwilling, he's a Russian agent. And the kids are all into it. Malcolm Muhammad Ali said, a man who views the world at 50 the same as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. So keep up. Keep up, people. Put down your devices. And, like they say, you should meditate, whatever form of meditation you use. But do it for at least 20 minutes a day, And if you're in a hurry, do it for an hour. No longer will I mention the name Donald Trump. I will, from this moment on, be referring to the Don as individual one. Criminal indictment. From every major mistake America has made in the past 30 years, there's a video of Bernie Sanders trying to stop it. I like Bernie. Yeah, I like Bernie. I'm going all out for Buddha Ejej. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's gay. And before I die, I want as many gays people to come here. Okay. Great countries don't fight endless wars. Let's chew on that one. We're just about done here. We got a few more minutes. Addictions, running from the self. Okay, we talked about that. Let's see, anything else? Power never takes a back step, only in the face of more power. Malcolm X said that silence is betrayal. Things are more like they are now than they ever have been. Well, anyway, it's been fun. We know what we are, but we know not what we may be. There is more inside you than you dare think. Re-examine all that you have been told or read in any books and dismiss whatever insults your soul. Stretch your mind and fly. An African proverb. Well, I had so many things I wanted to share for you, but as I said, I got. Yeah, yeah. With guns, you kill terrorists. With education, you kill terrorism. The only war we need is between church and state. People, people. Ben Franklin said, "We are all born ignorant, but one must work hard to remain stupid." I am against anything that kills or destroys the planet. Show me a capitalist, and I'll show you a bloodsucker. I love you. I love Democracy TV, and who knows how long. We got it now. Yeah, corporations. Yeah, Comcast has got us going only because they have to. They would love to throw us under the bus and get rid of us. It would be 2 extra stations for them. So thank you for supporting public access TV. I love you just for that. And Denise Dory will be here with Liberal Buzz. Axis of Love died. It's no longer. It had a long run. You know, Axis of Love, we were there with 215. We got the 215 passed. And then the corporations came in, you know, the Eric Pearsons, all the scum of the city, you know, made promises to us they never kept, you know, and now we're up a creek. People are leaving the city, normal people, and now it's the corpse zombies attached to their. It's like Land of the Body Snatchers. I feel like Donald Sutherland. Happiness is a choice, not a result. Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. No person will make you happy unless you decide to be happy. Your happiness will not come to you. It can only come from you. I'm happy. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this to the max because I waited 70 years for this, and now it's happening. So don't misinterpret my angst. This is the fuel that gets me here. I love you, and thank you for stopping me on the street and waving to me and telling me how much you enjoy this. Namaste. I'll be back here the first and the third Thursday of every month at 5 o'clock. And then most people see me on SF Commons here in San Francisco, channel 29 every Saturday night. And go to SF Commons and check the schedule. Comcast won't do that for us anymore. Love you. I can't shut this off.